Okay, it says scope. Use the commands you've learned in the past to organize the drawing into different layers. Create a layer for each part of the assembly. Use the properties tools to place the corresponding part on the correct layer. So the first thing we would do is to make these layers, one called nut, upper body, lower body, bill of material, and text. And then we're going to use these properties. And what does all that mean? Here's what it means. So we're going to go in and we're going to take a look today at the properties palette. So if you double click, and in the properties palette, you have two parts to it. You have this big control block, but then you also have a little control block, kind of like a quick access tool. And then you also have things you can do. So the first thing we would do is to make new layers. And over here are 4 controls. The first one is to make a new layer, creates a new layer that displays the name. Okay, so if you click on it, Starbright, think of Starbright. What layer do you want to be? Nut layer, nut. And nut layer, if I go back to the PDF, nut layer is green. So I'm gonna come back to AutoCAD, jumping around. Nut layer, here's where I change colors. I go in there. You wanna choose from these lowers. You mean lowers. This lower set of colors, you can choose any color in the 256. If you want, there, that's more relaxing. But these are AutoCAD colors that are hooked up to a pen type, which really means in today's world that these kind of are ready to print. The other ones can print, but you don't know what will happen to them until you adjust them. So we're going to go in here and change green. How did you do that? First thing I did is I typed in the new, I hit the star, I typed in the name, and now I'm going to change it to green. Click on that little box and go change green, say okay, and you will see it's on green. Now to make it current, you have to either double click on it to get that check mark. Let me undo. Can I undo? Or I can click the check mark here, select it and say check mark. When you make a layer active, it's the layer that you're using. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a kaleidoscope of colors based on the layers. So here's the nut, and make no mistake about it, nut is clearly mentioned. I'm going to drag and drop this nut, which is currently on 0, 0, into my green layer, which says, hey, where's the green layer? Did I erase it? Oh, maybe when I did undo, I got to do it over, watch. So this is a learning moment for you and me. Nut. When I went backwards, I erased all the work I did. Green, okay, and make it active. It's active. So if I select everything that I want, which everything that's a nut, remember our 2 ways of selecting? I could go green screen. And then once all these little blue grips show up, I can grab it and drop it into my green. And now it's painted green. Okay, I dropped it in there. Very good for a start. Not bad, huh? Okay. So now let's move on. Let's make another layer. Go back to our document. The next layer is upper body, and it is red. Okay, so like any good upper body workout, we're going to start with that. We're going to initial it. We're going to do upper body, all caps. And I'm going to go in there and make it red. Red. Okay. Locate what they're thinking of as upper body, drag, and drop into upper body. And you remember, I didn't make it, I got to double click it to actually make it. So I'm taking all these things, I'm dropping them into upper body. I could probably do it nice and clean if I did more of that tool, that squiggly tool. The lasso, that's it. Ignore the squiggly tool. It is the lasso tool. There you go. Okay, so that caught a lot. There's still always a couple of leftovers, so you can zoom in drag, and drop. 2 done, not bad, not bad. Be sure and save. We'll save often. You can do a thing called a quick save, which is Q, save. And it's just like a quick save without having to make a file. Okay, so we have more to do. And this is a perfect time for me to let you can explore and keep going. I'm going to go into the PowerPoint, which explains some of these layer methods a little bit more. And this we'll be looking, oh, I went too far. Go back all the way over. Okay, in drafting, different elements or components of a drawing might be separated by placing them on different sheets. When each sheet is perfectly aligned with the other, you have what's called an overlay system. In AutoCAD, the component of this overlay system are referred to as layers. All layers can be reproduced together to reflect the entire drawing. Individual layers might also be reproduced to show specific details or components of the design. The most important thing is that you can turn things off and on and see only the stuff that you want to see at that moment. How can working with layers increase your productivity in AutoCAD? Specific information can be grouped on separate layers. When you're doing like a big CD drawing, you want layers that just include piping, just include your mechanicals, just include kitchen elements. So the floor plan can be drawn on one layer and the electrical plan on another and the plumbing on the third. And by turning off the plumbing and the electrical, I can see what I'm doing. But since I need that information to complete the whole project, I can keep things separated. I can do several plot sheets can be referenced from the same drawing file by modifying layer visibility. This is how we share work with a contractor. How can working with layers increase your productivity again? Drawings can be reproduced in individual layers, and the layers can be combined to any desired format. So if I had a layer that had all kitchen stuff on it and I turned it off, then I can clearly see the room without all the clutter of kitchen pieces. The floor plan and electrical floor plan can be reproduced together and be sent to an electrical contractor for a bid. Each layer can be assigned a different color, line type, and line weight to help improve clarity. Why would a designer turn off the layer in a drawing? Because they don't want to see it. They just want to see what they want to see. Selected layers can be turned off and frozen to decrease the amount of information displayed on the screen or for speed regeneration. So if you have a really big file, by turning things off, you don't have to regenerate everything from scratch. Changes can be made to a layer promptly, often while the client watches. Layers in different drafting fields. There are a few drafting fields companies that use layers to identify their drawings. Mechanical drafters do this, architectural, civil, interior designers, and electrical drafters. Each of the contract trades has their own set of layers, and they might call it like, there might be ARC layers or C layers or DES layers. It just depends on what the company chooses as its name. Here's what it looks like. We're going to choose the layer. Well, that's an old AutoCAD right there. Layer 0 is the AutoCAD default, the current layer, until another layer is defined and set on current. If you don't do anything with an AutoCAD file, everything goes on 0. That's def points. It's advisable to draw layers you create other than 0 because layer 0 is reserved for the creation of block symbols and it won't print. So if you don't start using layers, what you print out, you may not get things to print. And we name our layers so we can find them. Layers should be given names to reflect what's drawn on them. Did you have hand drafting? If you did, you know about object lines, hidden lines, center lines, dimension lines, construction lines, what the hatch is, what the border is, and all of those will be indicated for a layer. For very simple, layers can be named by line type and color. I know when I first started out, I used to give them crazy names like, like white drawing, red drawing, blue drawing. Each layer's continuous white can have a continuous line drawn in white, and object 7 can be used to indicate an object with color 7. If you use numbering or lettering system to name your layers, why would you keep a written record of your numbering system for reference? Okay, and this goes with naming your files anyway. You need to have a number at first. Forget what the number or layer stands for. You might forget, but you also might not be able to tell other people what they need. And having a layer reflect itself. The American Institute of Architects, we have our own way of calling things. So if you become an architect, you have to submit to using the AIA standard. Okay, so let's go take a look at the Layer Properties Manager dialog box. You can type LA for layer. Let's go look at it. Since this is an older one, we'll get to our create a new layer. This you can freeze things. See these little controls in here? Let's go back to 0, make that. If you freeze or turn off the sun, that drawing goes away. And that actually would help because now you have access to just the part you want. You unfreeze it, you can turn it off, you can freeze it. Okay, we can lock it. So if we put the little padlock on here, and this is all things AutoCAD or Revit. Whenever you lock something and you leave it on, you can't do anything to it. So if I come in here and I want to erase it, like I'm one of your partners and I want to erase your work, I can't do it because you've locked it. Unless I know how to go in here and unlock it. Okay, you can send it to the plotter, just that color. Other parts, let's stretch this open. There's a lot of other fun stuff in here. There's line type. So if you want to choose a different kind of line type, here's an example. This should be a center line. So if you change that, you can change that line type, but we don't have a center. So you have control of different kinds of lines. There's only 3 loaded now. If you wanted to load more, you can go into that load button, and there's a huge list of stuff you can add. You can add fence line, you can gas line, hot water supply, but then the basic stuff is in the middle, which is basic lines are hidden lines, center lines, dash dot lines, dashed lines. Those are your basics. So if you needed one of these to import, these come from sort of a family. I'm gonna bring in this batten because there's always a lot of questions. So I'm gonna bring batten. And now batten appears. This is your installation pattern. And I could say, okay, and then the next time I go into line types, it's gonna stay there. You don't wanna fill up this with everything because it slows your machine down. That's why you go in and pick parts that you need. Okay, so let's continue with this little project. Let's see what our next color is off the PDF. So I will start I will locate the lower body. There it is. I'm going to create a new line type called lower body. It was yellow, so I'll go in there and pick yellow. Okay, and it's continuous, meaning it's not going to be hidden, but let's just for fun, let's give it a value of a phantom line, just for kicks. Say okay, and then it shows phantom line. So now if I take lower body, I'm going to drag and drop using this lasso tool, drag and drop into lower body. It has picked up the properties of the phantom line. And since that was just for demonstration, I'm going to go back in and change it back to solid, continuous. Okay, and it updated on its own. So now you see I still have to pick up some more parts. Pick up more parts, lower body. This one's a little bit more stubborn. Okay, so I invite you to begin this process as well. Take a look and see if you can change, transform to lower body, I'll come around and see that you've got a good start for it. Okay, so I have 3, and now I have things I can do. I can shut off stuff that I don't need. I can say, let's make this, turn it off, turn off upper body, turn off lower body. Okay, and keep moving down. And when you do that, you'll see the little parts that you missed, right? And these become things that you might have to purge, or you might have to reconnect them with their intended person. I'm going to reconnect it. So I'm going to choose it and drop it. I'm pretty sure that was the last thing we did, was the lower body. And this guy, I don't even really know what he belongs to, but I'm going to take a chance. Maybe it's upper body. Okay, let's keep going. Post. We'll look up on our control sheet. Post is color 91. Okay, so they threw a curveball. And then make sure that plate gets transferred onto 65. Let's go grab our plate. Plate there. Okay, so it's sort of a military green. Oops, what happened? Is it turned off? Go back, I did something wrong, I erased it. And catches your attention, so we use that sparingly. Okay, let's throw everything onto cyan. Now for the big show, for the really big show, I'm gonna turn everything on. Have my kaleidoscope. All I need to do is get this center line to be a uniform center for it, and then also change these colors. If I can change these into colors that match what they're saying, I'd be golden. I need to make a center line. So this is where I stop and go look around and then come back for the next PowerPoint